In this demonstration we're going to look at creating and managing the virtual machine clustered role. So what we did in an earlier demo is we created a cluster. Well, now what we're going to do is we're just going to come to our cluster manager, click on roles, and what we're going to do at this point here is right click and click on virtual machines. We're then going to create a new virtual machine, and we're going to specify, in the case of this, we're going to create it on LON host 1. So click OK at this point here. Then brings me into Wizard. So what we'll do at this point here is we'll select Next. Specify the name of the virtual machine, so I'll just call it LON-HA. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to store the virtual machine in a different location. I'm going to browse through here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to store it on my cluster shared volume. Now that I've done that, I'll just select my Next button. I'll just specify this as generation 1. We'll assign some memory, use dynamic memory as well. Select my Next button. I'm not going to bother connecting it to a network, but we'll select Next. Then we've got configure our virtual hard disk, so I'll just go with the default of a dynamically expanding disk. Select Next, and then what we'll do at this point here, we'll install the operating system later, select the Finish button, and away it goes and just creates my virtual machine. And so as we can see now, it's just configuring high availability for the virtual machine. That's all complete, so now we click the Finish button. Now we have our virtual machine. If I right click on our virtual machine, we can connect the virtual machine, start it, save it, shut it down, turn it off. We can look at the settings of the virtual machine. So we can specify hardware. What we've also got here as well is we've got the ability to manage the virtual machine. So, and that just brings me into the Hyper-V manager. So all we'll do here is we'll just pull this down a little bit. If we right click again, what we can also do as well is we've got replication support. We can move the virtual machine with live migration, which will give me no downtime in the virtual machine. Quick migration, which will temporarily pause the virtual machine. We can also migrate the storage. We can change the startup priority as well, so let's just make this one low. So in the case of failover, we can specify that it starts at a later date. We can have a look at the critical events. We can add additional storage, add additional resources. We can start the roll up here. We can remove the virtual machine, and we also have the properties of the virtual machine. So on the properties here, just on the general page, we've got the name of the virtual machine, and we'll specify the preferred owner to be LON host 1. So as it says here, it's just the preferred from the top to the bottom. There's the priority we set earlier. If we have a look at the failover tab here, we can specify the number of times the cluster service will attempt to restart or fail over this virtual machine. So we can say the maximum failures in specified period, let's make that 2, and then what we say here is the period will be, let's make that 2 hours as well. Then we've got the ability to prevent failback in the case of the host coming up, or allow failback as well. So what we'll do here is we will prevent failback, so we'll have it running on the second host in the case of a failure. Click the OK button at this point here. We've also got the resources tab down at the bottom here. If I just right click on the virtual machine, have a look at the properties, what it does is it brings me into a slightly different screen. So on the general page here we can see the virtual machine is called LON-HA. We can see any dependencies for this virtual machine. We can specify the policies, so in the case of resource failure, what do we want to do here? If a restart is unsuccessful, fail over all the resources in this role, and if the restart attempt fails, we can begin restarting again after a specified amount of time. On the advanced policies here, we can specify our possible owners for the virtual machine. We can specify basic resource health check intervals, thorough resource check intervals, and we can run this resource in a separate resource monitor as well if we wish. Then just on the settings page here, select the action for the cluster to perform when taking this virtual machine resource offline. So what I'll do at this point here is I'll shut mine down. Virtual machine stop action, what we'll do at this point here, take resources offline until the virtual machine then restarts again, and we need to ensure that heartbeats are sent backwards and forwards just so that the Hyper-V host can monitor the state of the virtual machine. That's the end of this demonstration. Thanks very much.